Chapter 17. After a while, when the nightmare was over, Nate stepped away and went outside to escape the troubles. He lied a blanket down and fell asleep on the porch. Aalliyah and Jeramie, though, continued crying, with neither able to get any sleep. The sun started to rise, and Jeramie sighed. "I hate to leave you, but I'm going to make something to eat quick. Would you like anything?" Aalliyah shook her head. "I'll be back in a few minutes. Will you be okay?" She nodded. He sighed again and left the room. She saw Nate was up and in the kitchen eating a bowl of cereal and no longer in his pajamas. "What are you up to?" he questioned. "Getting ready to head off to Cambridge," answered Nate. "You can't be serious. You just lost a child. Take a day off to recover. It's not for yourself, for Aalliyah. She is suffering greatly." "I'm aware. It's hard on me too, but I don't deal well with my feelings, and I especially don't like letting them show. For me to heal, I need normalcy, and that means going to Cambridge. Besides, I know you will keep her good company and heal her. I'm sorry, but I must head off." Jeramie watched as Nate went out the door, and then he went back to Aalliyah. "He's off to Cambridge?" she implored. "Yes, I'm sorry. I couldn't convince him to stay." "It's okay. I know he does better by not facing things head-on and avoiding it. I always need to face it straight on and focus on the pain to get through it. I'm sorry for being an optimist, and you'll hate me for saying this, but maybe there's a reason this had to happen." "Like what?" "No idea. We don't know the future. Only time will tell." A little later, Nate was sitting on one of the chairs in the room at Cambridge with the lesson plan of the day in front of him. Lucy was happily going over it and reviewing where they'd co-teach and her ideas. However, when she glanced at him, she saw he wasn't even listening and completely zoned out. She walked over in front of him, but he didn't react, so she waved her hand in his face. He shook his clouds away and came back to the moment. "What's going on with you today?" she demanded. He shrugged. "I can tell something's wrong." "I don't want to talk about it," he replied. "That's not going to help you, so tell me what's going on." Knowing there was no way to get around her stubbornness, he softly admitted, "Aalliyah miscarried in the earliest hours of the morning." "My word! What are you doing here? You should be home. I'll teach the classes today. You go home now." He shook his head. "Yes, you need to be there for her. She needs you." "I can't. That will only make things worse for me. I need to be here. I don't want to be with her. I want to be with you. You are where I find comfort. Besides, she has Jeramie, and believe me, she's better off with him there for her than me." She sighed. "Fine. Go to your room, and I'll be there between classes to hold you tight and give you as much comfort as I can provide in this situation." Back in Bourne, Aalliyah lied in bed, curled in the covers. Jeramie stood in the doorway observing her. She looked so small and shriveled up in her tiny ball. He took a sip of his tea and then went into the room, setting it down on the nightstand. Gently he placed his hand on Aalliyah's shoulder. "What can I do to help you?" he sought. "Would it be asking too much of you if I asked you to hold me?" she responded, desperate for comfort. "Not at all, because Nate isn't here to do that for you." Jeramie climbed in the bed and folded his arms around her. More than anything, he wanted to kiss her shoulder blade, but didn't want to push the boundaries. "You are going to be okay. You are going to get through this," he whispered as he rubbed her shoulders. "Do you really believe that?" she sniffled. "Yes, the darkness can only last so long before the light will come along. I know you are hurting deeply, and you will always have that hole in your heart. But you will learn how to live your life again, as you did when your parents passed. Once Nate deals with his own grief, he will be by your side to guide you to the light. But until then, at least I have you to keep me company. You are a good friend, Jeramie." He smiled and continued rubbing her back. For several hours he remained cradling her, but then stood up and went into the kitchen. He came back with a fresh bowl of broccoli cheddar soup. He declared, "I want you to sit up and drink this soup." Knowing she was going to protest, he sharply added, "I don't care if you want to or not. You need to take care of yourself, too." Aalliyah mumbled as she began to scrunch up. "I would have rather died in place of my child. I know Nate wasn't too thrilled about becoming a father because of his obligations at Cambridge, but I would have preferred to drown in the pressure of doing it all than to have this." "I know, but there was nothing that could have been done to prevent this from happening. Jeramie, I would still love to have a child in the future, but now I'm scared to. What if this happens again?" She trembled as she wrapped her arms around her belly. Still shaking, new tears trickled down her cheek. I'm not an expert, but I've heard it said just because it happens once doesn't mean it will happen again. As long as you aren't barren, you will have no trouble carrying a successful child. If you are barren, even conceiving is difficult, but if you do carry, the risk of losing it is higher. How do I know if I'm barren or not? You'd have to go to a doctor and get tested. Sometimes, though, your body will give you warnings. Forgive me for getting too personal. You don't have to answer this next question if you don't feel comfortable. Obviously, I know this last instance at the library, the two of you weren't careful, but how many other times did the two of you forget to be careful and nothing ever became of it? Several times, but the key difference was after each time we forgot, we had taken showers nearly immediately after to wash anything lingering off. At the library, we didn't have a chance to wash off. You might be all right then. I don't know enough about how it works to tell you. The best way to know for sure is to go to the doctors. Will they be able to tell what went wrong this time? I have no idea. If I go, will you come with me? Nate should be the one to go with you. He's never here. I doubt he'd be willing to take time off to go with me. He's your boyfriend. It's his job to be there for you through the good and the bad, Jeramie remarked sharply, but not at Aalliyah. It irritated him that Nate wasn't a crutch for his girlfriend like he should be. Yes, I know, she said quietly, but you know him better than I do, and you know he won't. What about Saturday when he usually isn't at Cambridge? He'll make up some excuse about lesson plans and go anyway. Jeramie sighed, knowing she was right. I'll go with you, just tell me when. Can we go today? Aalliyah, your wound is still bleeding. I think it'd be wise to wait a few days and give yourself time to recover from this loss. Yes, but I want to know what went wrong, and doctors may not be able to tell us until more time passes. You make a valid point, and I haven't enough knowledge to know the timeline. Are you sure you're up to facing that today? She nodded. Okay, we'll go down this afternoon, but first I want you to eat. She agreed and slowly spooned down the warm broth. Meanwhile, Lucy strolled over through the resident halls and past her room, pausing at Nate's. Lightly, she knocked on his door. Come in, he called with the strength he had. She came in and saw him sitting at the desk with an astrology book open. Lucy came up and affectionately rubbed his shoulder. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on in your mind, she requested. He responded, Well, on the bright side, we won't have to worry about a child in the middle of our relationship. The loss hurts, yes, yet I'm also relieved. How can I feel both ways at the same time? It's hard because you both love me and loved that child. You wanted to be a father, yet you weren't ready to be one. The timing was horrible, which is why you were relieved. However, it was your blood, your baby, that never had a chance to take a breath. Losing a child is one of the greatest pains, from what I've been told. What can I do to help you through this? Honestly, distractions are what I need. I cannot face things head on. We could either play a board game or watch a movie, I don't care which, but if we do a movie, it has to be a silly one to keep my mind from anything sad. We can do both. Nate grinned and closed his book. Later into the afternoon, Jeramie pulled into the parking lot of the doctor's office. Aalliyah remained in her seat as he got out. He glanced at her and saw she was nervous. Being polite, he opened the passenger door for her. I'm scared, she admitted. I know you are. If you would rather go home, we can. You don't have to do this. I need to know. Please don't tell Nate anything, though. I'd rather him not worry. I won't. Come on. He held out his hand, and she happily took it. One slow step at a time, they worked their way towards the door. Jeramie could feel her hand shaking and getting sweaty in his grasp. Only a few long minutes passed before the two of them were sitting in a room with the door closed, waiting for a nurse or a doctor. A moment later, a nurse came in the room. With a smile, she asked, What can I do for you today? Aalliyah looked at Jeramie, not having the courage to speak the nightmare words. He sighed and informed she suffered a miscarriage last night. Aalliyah added, I want to know what caused it and if I'm able to have children in the future. The nurse stated, Our technologies are not advanced enough to know the exact cause of a child loss, but it could have been many different things. It most commonly is something wasn't forming correctly and life was impossible for your little one. If you asked about the future, are you asking for a fertility test? Aalliyah nodded. The nurse looked at Jeramie and thought, Would you also like to get tested, as sometimes it is the male? He replied, I'm all right. I'm not with her. I'm only her support person today. Her boyfriend is at work. You mean he went to work despite everything that happened? Aalliyah nodded and added, It's how he deals with things. I can't imagine facing a tragedy alone like that. I'm not alone. I have Jeramie. He's my roommate, my boyfriend's best friend. All right, I'll be back. Are you all right with a blood test? I know some people are extremely scared of needles. I'll be fine. The nurse nodded and left the room. A moment later she returned. Are you left or right-handed? Left-handed, she replied. The nurse nodded and took her right arm into hers. Aalliyah tightly gripped Jeramie's hand and shut her eyes. She felt the needle slide under her skin on her forearm. Slowly the nurse pulled it out and Aalliyah opened her eyes. The nurse stated, I'm going to take it down to the lab. I'll have your results in 30 minutes. The nurse left the room, and as soon as the door clicked shut, Aalliyah burst into tears. Jeramie pulled her into his arms and clutched her to his chest, rocking gently. Her tears managed to dry by the time the nurse returned. The nurse declared, Your hormone levels are normal, which means you are able to have children. Then why did I lose my baby? Did I do something wrong? She inquired. Not likely. Did you drink at all after finding out about the child? Aalliyah shook her head. Do you have diabetes or any other illness? Again she shook her head. Then it is not your fault and only natural causes. I'm sorry this happened to you. I wish you the best in the future. She met Jeramie's eyes and added, And thank you for being a good friend to her in this difficult time. He nodded, and then shortly the two headed off. When they were in the car, Aalliyah requested, Can we stop by the library? Sure. He drove her to the library. The two walked in unnoticed by the librarians, and she took his hand, leading him upstairs. He leaned close to her as she weaved through the rows and whispered, What book are you looking for? Not a book. I want to see something, she replied softly. She turned down the one column and by a large window and kept her gaze on the ground. Suddenly she stopped where the smallest stain on the carpet was. Her eyes looked up at the top of the shelf and saw a sign classifying the section as romance. Bittersweetly she smiled. Then her eyes scanned downward and she noticed a subsection. Her eyes grew wide and trembling she mumbled, It was my fault. What was? That I lost my child. Nate and I slept together right here, which is next to the subsection of romantic tragedy. I jinxed it. No, Aalliyah, you didn't. It just happened that way. Can we go home? He nodded. They descended the stairs and Erica, one of the librarians, noticed her. She happily waved, and weakly Aalliyah waved back. Aalliyah turned towards the door, desperate to escape. Erica galloped over and remarked, placing her hands on her hips, Were you not going to say hello? Quietly, Aalliyah replied, I'm not having the best day and haven't the energy to uphold conversation. I'm sorry to hear that. Let me know if you need anything. Thank you. Right now I only need to go home and sleep as though I didn't last night. My goodness, yes, go. Jeramie and Aalliyah arrived back at the house. Aalliyah climbed in bed and he took her hand as he sat beside her in a chair. She shook as tears fell down her cheeks again, but soon she cried herself to sleep. In the late afternoon, Nate came home. He went into his room where the two friends were. Seeing how Aalliyah was lying, he whispered, Is she asleep? Jeramie nodded. I'm glad. The poor dear must be exhausted. Seeing Jeramie at her side, holding her hand, he added, And thank you for being here for her when I couldn't. I needed to remove myself from the situation. There was nothing I'd be able to help her, not when my heart also hurt. I couldn't be her strength because I couldn't even be my own. I wanted the energy I get from the classrooms to fill my void, but I never made it that far. I crashed the moment I walked into the classroom. I went to my room and remained in tears for a while. When I pulled myself together, I was desperate for any distraction from this. Jeramie gently remarked, You don't need to explain yourself to me. I know you don't deal with things well when faced head-on. Aalliyah and I both need that head-on collision to get through things. Yeah, it hurt like hell doing it that way, but in the long run it pulls us through. Did she have the chance to face it head-on today? Yes, that is why she sleeps so peacefully now. When she wakes, she will not nearly be healed, but she'll be closer than she was when you left this morning. She will need to continue cutting into the wound before it can heal properly. What did she do to face it today? Went to the library, to the spot you created the baby. Holy feather, he cried above a whisper and saw her stir. He covered his mouth and resumed quietly. She is the bravest person I know. I would not have the courage to go there. It will be several months in the least before I could even think of returning to that library. That had to have been torture and excruciating to put herself through. It was. She was in tears the whole way home. Then she lied in bed and cried until she was asleep, and she's been out ever since. Oh, Aalliyah, all the pain you've endured and are set to face in the future, he said tenderly, stroking her cheek, referring to him cheating and the heartache he will cause her. You don't deserve this. I'm sorry life threw this at you. It's not fair. You deserve better. You deserve to be happy. He leaned down and lightly kissed her forehead. Softly she groaned and opened her eyes. The faintest smile tried to appear on her lips, seeing her boyfriend was home. How was Cambridge? She mumbled sleepily. Honestly, not as refreshing as I had hoped. The comfort I found there wasn't what I needed. I searched for it in a place that couldn't relate to the agony you and I are going through. I'm staying home tomorrow. I need you and you need me. Really? Yes. She sat up, tossing her arms around his neck and kissing his lips. I love you. Repeatedly she kissed him. When she finally gave him a moment to breathe, he stated, I need to make a call to let them know I won't be there. He pulled out his phone and dialed Lucy. She, of course, picked up on the first ring. Hey, what's up? He replied back in German, knowing his roommates didn't know the language. Ich komme morgen nicht zur Uni. Ich liebe dich. I'm not coming to the university tomorrow. I love you. She replied, Bist du auf Lautsprecher? Are you on speaker? Nein. No. Good. I'm glad you'll stay home. Aalliyah needs you. You should have gone home today, though, to be with her. I'll miss you tomorrow, but please take as much time home as you need. Ich liebe dich, mein Schatz. Ich werde später mit dir reden. Gute Nacht, mein Liebling. I love you, my darling. I will talk to you later. Good night, my love. Gute Nacht. With a sigh, he hung up the phone. Aalliyah questioned, Since when do you know German? Almost alarmed, he stated, You know German? No, but I recognize the tongue. I couldn't make out a word you said, except I would guess 9 is no. He nodded. So how do you know German? I actually minored in it in college. Really? He nodded. Why? We were required to take a language course, but I enjoyed it so much I decided to minor in it. I don't often use it, though, as it's not needed. Then why did you have that entire conversation in German? The one I called is from Jeramie. She's fluent in English, but I like honoring her native language. Plus, it gives me practice. I've had to brush up on it, and she's laughed at me what I've misspoken. Do you have any examples? She sought with a smirk. Nate chuckled. The most embarrassing was when I wanted to say most, which is meisten, but I said meise instead. What does that mean? With his cheeks glowing red, he said, I'll leave that to you to Google. How do you spell it? She pulled out her phone, curious to know. Meise. Jeramie, wanting to know, peered over her shoulder as she searched it. For the first time all day, her eyes lit up and she laughed. Nate, I can't believe you did that. Yeah, I wanted to disappear. Well, I may not know how to say hello or goodbye in German, but at least I know. She broke off into laughter, unable to bring herself to say it. The next day, Aalliyah stumbled into the kitchen with only the strength she could muster. Nate was still in the room sleeping. Jeramie was, of course, up, as he was an early riser. He was brewing tea, but heard the shuffle in the floor and turned to see Aalliyah. Can I make you anything? He inquired. Just a cup of tea, please, she answered, not having it in her to eat yet. As he poured the tea and added sugar, he commented, Shortly I'm going to head off to the preserve. If at any point in the day you need anything, don't hesitate to call me. I appreciate it, but I'll be all right. I have Nate. Jeramie nodded and handed her a cup of tea. I need to set off. Promise me you won't be too hard on yourself today. I hate seeing your eyes full of tears. Your eyes are too pretty for sorrow to linger. Gently he ran his thumb right below her eyes. You seriously need to get yourself a girlfriend so you can stop focusing on me. I know, but it's hard because the only one I want to be with is you. But I would never come between you and Nate. I wish I could turn my heart off because it fills me with so much joy seeing you and him together. And yet, the memory of our kiss at Christmas and the magic makes me wish you were my partner. Aalliyah took a step back from him and protectively wrapped her arms around her belly, and her eyes fell to the ground. What is it? Christmas, she whimpered as her entire body started to shake, is the day Nate and I slept together. The beginning of my unforeseen nightmare. I'm so sorry. I had forgotten that was the same day. I didn't mean to bring that up. It's all right. I didn't know mentioning Christmas would trigger me. Aalliyah quivered as more tears started falling. I'm going to the bedroom. I should be off to the preserve. Again, I am so sorry. Don't worry about it. She hurried back into the room and folded herself into Nate's arms and cried. Hearing her cry awoke him. He wrapped his arms tighter around her and rubbed her back. Then he kissed her cheek. Shh, take a deep breath, softly, he said. Through sniffles, she replied, Thank you for staying. Of course, he kissed her cheek again. Please let me know what you need from me today, whether it's special food, simply holding you, or anything. I am here for you. I'll let you know, I promise. For now, just hold me. 2 hours later, the two were still lying in bed, furled in each other's arms. Occasionally, Nate kissed her forehead or cheek. Aaliyah's tears managed to dry, but the darkness shrouded her soul still. I know what I need from you, she stated. What is that, my darling? He asked, kissing her neck. You. I'm here. She shook her head and clarified, I want you physically. Nate stared at her appalled. Is it not too soon? Wouldn't being intimate stir up the painful memories? Perhaps, but I need to feel something other than this never-ending pain. No matter how numb I am, you can always create a spark inside when you unite with me. Unless I'm asking too much of you, then you are welcome to decline. You and I are both grieving, so it is what you need doesn't align with mine. You can just hold me. It's fine, but tell me to stop if it gets to be too much. I will. Lightly, he kissed her neck repeatedly, slowly increasing the speed and shortening the length they remained on her skin. Then he yanked her pajama shirt over her head, and she breathed out heavily, almost jaggedly. He hesitated, but her eyes told him she was fine. He placed several kisses along and slightly below her collarbone. Next, he curled his fingers around her chest. She inhaled sharply and started breathing heavily as if she had been running a race. Immediately, Nate removed his hands. I think it's too soon for you, he remarked. No, this is what I need. Please continue and go to Australia, she defended, using her code word. We'll see. First, you need to be comfortable with me exploring the Alps before I go down under, he replied, continuing in their secret language. Okay, well, ignore my body language, as my mind is remembering back to that night in the library. Only listen to my words and what I tell you to do or not to do. Nate took a deep breath and climbed the mountains again. The hills rolled under his fingers like clouds slipping across the sky. Aalliyah closed her eyes and tried to remember the world when her heart wasn't in pain. Slowly, her tense shoulders relaxed and her breathing evened out. She felt Nate's hot breath run along her skin, and then his lips were overlapping her. The last fabric encasing her body steadily crawled off. At the speed of a snail, Nate lowered himself until his lips touched Australia. Aalliyah sucked in a sharp breath and held it as long as she could. When she released it, she started hyperventilating and her throat clamped shut. Unable to restrain her emotions, tears poured down her face, making her entire body tremble. All right, it's too much. We'll give it more time for you to heal before we become intimate again, Nate declared. No, please, she whimpered. I need this. I'm hurting you. Not physically. It's wonderful. I'm destroying you emotionally, though. I don't care. I tell you truly, it is helping me. It's helping me work through the pain and the flashbacks. I need you to continue and don't stop. Fine, he snapped and threw himself into her, making her bite back a scream of emotional agony. Harder she panted as tears raced down her cheeks. Her body shook like an earthquake as her crying overpowered her. Slowly, the pleasure from his contact replaced the pain. Nate threw himself to the side of her and lied down to catch his breath. Aalliyah took deep inhales, trying to rein her emotions back into her control. Alas, her tears stopped falling and her breathing evened out. I'm feeling better, she reported. Can we do it again? Sure, he answered, rolling over to hover over her. This time she trembled, but never did her rivers flow. Then they rested. Nate fetched them water and toast. Then they danced together again. Aalliyah, now adjusted, was cheerful and in the moment, as she had been before losing her child. It amazed Nate seeing how much his love really was changing her and helping her heal. It was after lunch, and both of them were finally feeling up to eating more than bread and butter, so Nate made them a solid meal. As they finished eating, Aalliyah came up behind Nate and folded her arms around him. She placed a kiss on his neck and requested, "Can we go again?" "Yes, because I see it's making a difference for you, and I feel it too," he answered. The two walked back into the bedroom and let the shenanigans start up. Meanwhile, Jeramie had decided to head home for the day. It was a slow day at the preserve, and more than anything, he wanted to be there for his two friends. He entered the home. Assuming the two were moping about in the bedroom, he headed into the living room. Nate's door was wide open. Aalliyah giggled and then froze as her eyes met Jeramie's. "Oh, feather," she mumbled. Nate followed her line of sight and saw Jeramie gazing completely alarmed. "I am so sorry," he cried. "I'm leaving." Jeramie turned instantly and hurried out of the home. At once Aalliyah and Nate laughed at how frightened he seemed.